It is February 28th, and it's another Love What You Do again, because we get to help leaders uncover how they own their leadership, assess the evidence, verify the evidence, and make sure that they're actually walking their talk so they truly love what they do again, and they love it even greater, which means that we open it up with a conversation first. Every first 5 to 10 minutes, we talk about a subject. And we started this week to follow up from last week. We talked about advocates and how you're building advocates last week. And we wanted to talk about visibility today. So there's a couple different ways I'm sure you all are going to perceive visibility. And one of them is in the respect of how you're sharing your message, how you are building additional business, additional relationships, and additional community. And so, as you know, we use all kinds of different ways to do that. So we have another fun slide. And, Richard, we purposely put Rotary on there for you. And we have BNI. We have a couple of members of BNI in the community. We have people that believe in using Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. You get to use whatever types of access or tools you want to use in what we call platforms. So whether that be an email that you send out, a CRM program you use that creates all your relationships, whether that be a opportunity to use your social media and messaging, or the actual video platforms or messaging, all of that is a way you get to communicate with your audience. We posted a video this morning and already got feedback on one from our YouTube channels. I got a private message on my text for someone to say, hey, I watched your new YouTube video and this is what I think. Do you think we built some relationship with our advocate from sharing a message? You never know who's going to be watching and how often they're watching or what is going to connect them to it. So all these tools, and by the way, would it be wise to have a schedule? So those of you that know, almost every Monday, I am doing a Possibility Monday video so that we are consistent about our messaging and we're consistent about sharing what we're talking about for the week, and we're planting a seed about a question. Those are tools that we share with our clients. But the other thing I wanted you to hear about visibility is how you're known. So one of the questions I got asked last week is, so do you know what you're known for in our community? This is what I shared in the video today. And I purposely work to make sure that everyone is seen, valued, and heard. All my clients know that my job is to become their mirror and help them discover where they are, where they want to be, and what might be in the way, and how they're being purposeful about moving forward. And some things they really are happy about, and some things they're not so happy about. So when we move into how you're being present, and even when you're not present, is the way some of you know one of my coaches, Mr. Richard Flint, and he would say, how are you being present when you're not present? Videos are one way to be present when you're not present. A thing that you teach is a way to be present when you're not present. There are a multitude of different ways to be present when you're not present. A gentleman said to me about a company I used to teach for and work with, they used to say, you came in and taught people how to treat businesses like businesses. So that they didn't just show up to be water cooler people, they showed up to truly be business owners. Whole different presentation and process. Everybody follow that, how people see and hear and experience you. So it's a pretty simple concept, yet each of you, I loved, now this is Miss Haley's beautiful ad in her garden mindset. And I'll let Miss Haley share a little bit more about how you set up this beautiful visual.
Sure. So, we talked about these different areas, these different pools, I guess you could say, that you commonly will receive business from, or perhaps they're just pools of people that you know are good fits for your business. You could picture each of those as little gardens, or little, those little box gardens. How are you paying special attention to each individual garden to make sure that it's getting the attention, the nourishment that it needs to grow and succeed? They're standalone, right? Facebook doesn't always talk to YouTube, doesn't always talk to the Rotary Club. You have to spend individual attention in each of these areas, or else one will start to die. That's where this thought came from.
I love the plant visual, and I love the awareness. And by the way, following that plant, even in our advocates, by the way, sometimes when our business grows or expands, or there's a service we no longer offer, or a service that we have changed the way we offer it, does our plant and garden change at times? It does. And sometimes we have to trim. So like I happen to be a big rose advocate, and at come winter time, in order to make a rose bloom at its best, you need to trim it to almost to where it looks like it's dead. And yet it comes back ridiculously bountiful because you made that commitment of trimming it to where it best is successful at. And by the way, sometimes do we need to clean up our databases, clean up our gardens to create more success? All the time. So our opportunity is to help you understand where you want to be visible. And this is the final thought of this, and we'll open it up to questions. I think there's one more question there, correct? Yes, thank you. And sometimes we confuse our clients. Sometimes when we are willing to be in reactive all the time, and we jump to whatever need might be rising, sometimes we don't teach them the best client for us. Sometimes we just attempt to people please, and sometimes we create more challenges than we do value. So when we say, let's get to the bottom of what you're really looking to achieve, and we're purposeful about that, then we can clarify that this is the best way we serve. And here, this is going to be the ideal clients for us. And we've got a team member that handles that, or we've got a partner that handles that. And we have an opportunity to connect people with a right fit. Does that make sense? Everybody's kind of digesting that. So this is your time. Our question for you is, what are you doing to be visible for the people you want to build relationship and community with? Now, you're welcome to answer that question. You're welcome to ask a separate question. It does not have to be aligned with what we're talking about. You can ask, this is an open forum. So who wants to be brave and start first? Richard, you're unmuted, so it looks like you're ready.
Actually, I'm not ready, but I guess I will share with you that I'm working on my advocate and my Protomoy list and means of tracking and following up with them. So I do a lot of things to be present when I'm not present. I have a number of YouTube videos that I've published. I have some articles that I've published. I have a lot of things that put me in front of other people, and some ideas. And I'm learning a whole lot about how to make those things simpler, actually, and not be maybe so legalistic as I might otherwise be, and relate on a level that other people will easily associate with. So.
Well, and Richard, if you go back to one of the gardens that Haley talked about, real estate agents are one of your gardens, right?
Absolutely.
And so what would be a valuable asset that one of your YouTube videos that would be ridiculously valuable to any real estate agent? Where would they find it, and what would they look up?
I have a couple of different videos I put together on trusts and estates, wills and trusts, basically. And I had a call from an agent last week that we connected up on LinkedIn a while back. And we finally spent some time on the phone together, and looks like we're going to be doing some cross marketing. And his big concern was being able to share with his clients the importance of the trust, or said differently, what's the consequences of not having a trust in place when you own real property? And so I've sort of spelled that out for him, and I have a video that addresses that, but I'll probably do another one that specifically says, here's what you're at risk for if you don't do this.
Excellent. And that would be found where on your YouTube page?
Yeah, it's both on the website and on my YouTube channel.
Now, Richard, because you give me permission to pick on you, thank you in advance. Now, because Richard and I know each other so well, does anybody know where to go to that YouTube page? Thank you, Stephen. So free. So Richard, will you share with the people that don't know you where they would go?
Absolutely. Go to bottomlinelawyers.com. And there you'll find a link to my YouTube channel, as well as the videos that are actually embedded on the website itself.
And do you see how easily that visibility and relationship was, but yet there were people that could have opportunity to connect with you that needed more clarity. So thank you for letting me. help support that.
Thank you.
Excellent job. Any questions for the group?
I eventually want to set up a trust, by the way, like the lower amount of items that I can own directly, the better. So
So
cool
so
information. So I've got the S corps and all my LLCs set up, but I want I want a trust to own all the LLCs and all the different branches.
Absolutely. That's absolutely brilliant. I have a number of clients that I put into that recently because it gives extra protection and control. So
And I can pass it off so easily. I'll be changing my entire family tree that way. Absolutely.
Dallas, great job. And Richard, did you just see how, and so what we know from this community is that when you all get to know each other, you see opportunities to connect and purpose of it. So Bree just asked in chat, what type of law? So feel free to answer her in chat in regards to that, so she can have some support with that. Who is next for questions? Stephen? You're muted, sir. He's working on it. And,
What kind of law? I mean, I don't want to have to guess or chat about it.
oh, that was your question.
Yeah, what kind of law? Is it estate planning? Is it real estate law, contracts? What is it?
I do wills, trust, tax resolution, bankruptcy, and advise businesses on how to arrange their assets.
All
Awesome.
of the above. And Bree, you have a question.
So when it comes to the assets, the reason I was asking is yesterday I was told that I need to get a statement together showing how much my company is worth altogether. Is that something that you help with?
No, that really requires the assistance of an accountant or a CPA, because what
Okay.
they're looking for is the financial records for businesses consist really of two pieces. One is a balance sheet, which shows the overall picture, and the other one is either called a profit and loss or an income statement, one of those two. And those are the two documents that most lenders and other institutions want to see from your business. That's what they use to make decisions about you on. So I
Okay.
will add to that it's really important to work with somebody as a accountant or bookkeeper or CPA who knows how to set up the chart of accounts properly and push that away. And so, well, here's an opportunity, April. I will mention Shauna Quinn, who's a bookkeeper in Florida, who I'm working with, who does a great job at that, and does regular maintenance of books as well as setting you up in the first place.
And Bree, you have one in your BNI group as well.
Mhm.
Is somebody you might be able to ask for some support.
I
with it.
actually just got off of a call with her about this specifically. So I was trying to see, because they were asking someone that was interested in investing asked for some stuff that was a little bit different. So that's why I was asking.
So which
Awesome.
BNI group do you belong to?
I'm in the one with Haley.
They're in the
North
Dallas.
Texas virtual, yeah.
Okay. I've reached out to the guy who's organizing one in my community, and I've attended one guest session a number of years ago, but I'm not currently involved. And so I'd be interested in what your take is on the value of BNI.
I think it's completely worth it. It's really important to find the correct group. I was in a previous group and it wasn't the best fit for me, but I have noticed how much just in the last month of changing groups, how much my business has grown.
Thanks. Anybody else have experience with BNI?
I would second that. I say 100% worth it. I would say some are virtual, some are in person, and each person tends to really like one or the other more. So maybe visit a virtual if you've only visited in person, or maybe visit an in-person if you've only done virtual, so you can get, it's like, I've heard it's a completely different feel. So yeah, I would recommend checking out both before you commit.
Thanks.
Well, and Richard, this is a perfect conversation for visibility, by the way, because everybody's got a different perception. And so ironically, on one side of the room is everybody that loves BNI. And on the other side of the room is a group of people that says, I got value from BNI, but I'm not using it right now. So it's going to be interesting to see. And this is perfectly aligns with our conversation. So Steve Brepp, I'm going to let you speak to that first, because actually Steve Brepp and I met through a BNI meeting. So You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I grew and ran my business on BNI for almost 15 years. I was involved in basically 3 different groups through myself and employees, and it was fantastic. It's a lot more expensive now, but there's no question that if you're trying to grow your business, that should be something that you should look into. I've never done a virtual one, at least not in perpetuity, but I've done a lot of in-person attendance.
Thanks.
Steve, is there any questions or thoughts for while you're unmuted for the group today?
No, I'm just kind of soaking it all in. I appreciate everybody's input.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing too, because and you were actually a visitor of the group that I was a part of in California when we met. And what happened, and you need to understand the visibility of this. Had Steve not walked up to me and said, "Hey, let's do a one-on-one," we wouldn't have got the opportunity to get to know each other better and truly figure out what his need was and how we could tag team. And we've exchanged services since then through the years because of that relationship. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it really does. And if you're going to invest the time, I know so many people that just for whatever reason didn't do a lot of the one-on-ones. I think the one-on-one meetings are paramount in your success and use of that channel.
Exactly. And you did an amazing job. You can start visiting them long before you join them. And by the way, one of my first, which Richard, you talked to, my first attorney client was from a BNI group I visited and never joined. So you never know when or how that's going to be the right connection. So just something to be conscientious, and everybody's got a different time and season for it.
Yeah.
But I 100% agree. It's paramount. Dallas, anything you want to add? And then we'll come to Mr. Stephen.
That worked for me really well for about a year. I left my identity there, so everybody knew who I was. I'm the cell phone guy, and just this week I still made. There's $400 worth of iPads I sold to Tony Anello, from who I met a year ago out of this BNI group. So you can really make some lasting connections there. I don't know. I was in one that was half. It was a really big one. So half of us were business owners. The other half were being paid to be in it by other companies. So I was like, oh, serve my time. Good to go. I'm going to do my thing at this point. So, but I met April through it. So
You did, and you
Yeah.
came through social. Yes, you
Yes,
did. And that's awesome. So do you see how our visibility, by the way, what we have discovered is we end up building advocate relationships through BNI is a tool. We go build advocate relationships, which causes the business. Does that make sense? Because we're giving a give and take that we're creating meaning and connection. That makes sense. It aligns with who we are and how we show up. So Stephen DeCenter, you want to add anything? No, you're that good. Richard, did we answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. So any other questions for the group? Remember, it's open forum. You can choose whatever question is on your mind or support you want from the community. And as you know, we always will add our 2 cents. It is complete open forum, and there's a whole community here.
I guess we can just go back to answering the original question, right? Like,
Please.
yeah. So what am I doing necessarily to be visible? There's a really cool group here known as the Business Professional Associations here around Knoxville. So I'm in 2 of those. Community organizing, community events, sponsoring Easter egg hunts, and all kinds of little stuff. It's just really great to be able to give back that way. Facebook ads here have been explosive. So check this out. I spent $25 on a boosted post, and it's just super organic. I was just being real and in it, and just threw it up there. And within the first day, I had spent 11 cents on the ad and already made $600 of revenue off of this one ad. So it's crazy stuff that, you know, as Google has shut down my ads for being a third-party repair, that I can just replace that so easily with just whatever else. Word of mouth is still really well. Still dialing through I've got 800 people now in my customer database. So it's every day that I've got to hit. I try to get to it through a letter every day, but we're adding so many anymore that it's a fun little thing. And I almost got a sales team here to where I can pay them off to do that, which is also very cool.
Yay.
Something else that you all mentioned earlier, I just kind of was taking notes on some of this stuff. A sign of a true leader is witnessed when they can walk away and no one notices. So that's kind of where I've been trying to go to next. And April said this probably to me a million times, and I never really got it, or I never really understood it. And when she's talking about how the universe can happen for you or through you, it's a whole different, I don't know, it's a whole different train of thought at how to approach problems that I've always created for myself as being this person that, oh, it's going to happen by me. I'm going to force this to happen. It's going to happen on my account or on my behalf, right? So this is kind of a Einstein's, one of his greatest quotes ever, says that you can't solve a problem with the same level of thinking that brought the problem about in the first place. So that's fine, but as humans, I didn't really know how to, I don't really know how to make that practical. How to, like, I don't know. It's great, April. What do you mean by that? How do I approach this problem at some other level of consciousness? Well, I've figured it out. Found this guy, and he's told me these 4 different levels, and what I've got to let go of to go from this level 2 of by me, this achiever mentality, to go through this through me, like the world is happening for me, and I have to let go of control. And that's what I've done this entire week. I am not so much on this I'm outcome independent, which is huge. So I'm able to just kind of sit and say, okay, I'm on the other side of this lease agreement. I'm on the other side of this LOI. I'm on this other side of having my second location, and it's built. And I'm able to turn that person around and have that person talk to me right now, right here. It's how I now visualize. And it's just there. It's just like, dude, you just got to keep going. Don't worry about you lost that sale. It's just going to be here in one thing every day. And it's been awesome to let go of some of that control and just say, oh, we're just going to flow. Man, it's just, and just like that Google ads. See, normally that would just drive me crazy. Like, oh my gosh, I can't even advertise the way I want to. No, we'll just flip it around. We'll do a Facebook ad, 11-cent spend in a day and a 600 in revenue, just because I let it go. It's crazy.
Congrats.
It's crazy. Does
So
that make a lot of sense? I don't know. That was a lot of words.
it made lots of sense. And I have a feeling I have a few people that have some commentary on that. So Dallas, Mr. Stephen wants to add some thought to that.
Sure.
I love this guy. I wish I had the energy and the excitement that you have. It's awesome. I remember months ago, maybe even a year ago, listening to you talk in this same meeting format, and you're like, I don't know what to do. How am I going to do this? This is over here. I got that going on. I can't be there and there and there. I can't get this all done. And it's so cool to hear you say, I've let it go. It's getting done. And wow, I'm on the other side of all these different things. Congratulations. I love it. I love listening to you, and I've loved watching your journey through all this. It's so right? It's just the way it's supposed to happen. So going back to the question, what are you doing to get visible? I find that in my case, I do a lot of things that I don't recognize as being potential step off points for making myself more visible. It's like, I don't know, I must compartmentalize things so insulated and so well that I don't allow them to bleed into each other. So one example of that is that I'm the chair of a board, a local board here in town, in Grass Valley, and it's Welcome Home Vets, and we provide financing for therapeutic services for veterans and their families that suffer from PTSD. And I've never allowed my real estate to enter into that bubble. And interestingly enough, I got questioned why, I know who you are, I know what you do, but you never bring it into why we're here, which is at a board meeting, or you're meeting with the veteran service officer and they're having housing issues. How come you don't respond as the realtor? And so I've been and it has opened up a lot of doors. And it's not only, and I don't say this because it's affected my business well. I say it because unknowingly I have helped and participated in people getting housing or seeing a path to get housing that otherwise would have never occurred, or maybe not for some time later in the future. And so I look at this in retrospect and say, you know, whatever we do for a living, if we are putting ourselves out there, then the people that need to see us will see us for what we do. I'm not only a board chair for a veterans organization, but I'm a realtor. And somehow, and I could not have put it together. Well, I didn't put it together for a long time, but it interweaves, and they both are mutually beneficial for each other. And so, you know, exposure. So I'm in the same kind of breath. I've always isolated my church stuff, you know, going to church. I don't ever discuss business at church, but I've been getting questions, and I've been talking about it. And it's interesting that people are more so looking for someone that they can just trust to answer questions that they have, and they don't know who to ask them. They don't know who to ask the questions to. And so I've kind of opened that up in my faith basic, you know, going to church and going to men's Bible study, and in working with individuals, you know, I'm there again, crossing and interweaving all that, and it'll really work well in the near future for me. And who'd have thought?
Well, you know, Stephen, one of the beautiful gifts is there's a beautiful lady here that happens to run an apparel company. And she would tell you, so you might want to be wearing some apparel every time you go to any of those meetings, so that you automatically say what you do without saying what you do.
Right.
And yet, Richard also is a big, and thank all vets for their service. And Richard is also a big advocate of vet. And Richard, you want to share about that?
Sure, because I want to make sure Stephen knows about the Forgotten Soldier program in Auburn. Our executive director, Donna Ars, has a non-pharmacological approach to dealing with PTSD. It's been extremely successful, and we're working now to expand that offering. We have a nice pavilion in downtown Auburn where vets can come for meditation purposes. But the most important thing is in the last, 18 years, we've served about 21,000 veterans at no cost to the veteran.
Amazing.
And help them all with PTSD.
And how did I miss, Richard, you're in Auburn?
Yeah, I'm right down the hill from you.
And all this time, you all been coming to this group, right? Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So, and by the way, Steve visits you all off and on too. So Steve pops into Sacramento on a regular basis. And Ms. Deborah is in. Deborah, you're on mute and off camera, so I'm not sure if you're able to talk or share. So Deborah is in California as well, in specific city, Roseville, I believe. She'll comment on that as she's, go ahead, Ms.
I'm in Rancho Cordova.
Oh, Rancho, that's right.
Yeah, but I serve all of Sacramento and surrounding areas.
And she is in the mortgage industry. So here you've got a couple of different Californians here, and two of them didn't even realize they were right next door to each other. So you gotta love that. So Bree, anything you want to comment on? Then Deborah will get you caught up in the conversation. There you are.
All I was really going to say is one thing, I have a question, but I can always ask that later.
Oh, we want you to ask it, please.
Okay. When you were talking about the apparel, I wear it no matter what. Now, if I have to run and I'm like, my kids are sick, things like that, when I wear my apparel and have my name, I try to look my best, because if I'm running to the grocery store in pajama pants, I'm obviously not going to wear a taco tee. But even like this is a simple, comfy black tee, and I have my logo right here, have the name right there. And so it's really important to be able to brand yourself and people start recognizing you. Because this morning I walked into Bible study and one of the ladies goes, see, that's the girl, that's the taco girl, because our business name is That Apparel Co. So when you take the letters and put them together, it creates taco. So people are starting to recognize us as the Taco Girl. I don't know if that's a good recognition or not. Um, one of my things that I wanted to ask and get input on is we're in a weird place in business right now where we're trying to scale, but we are being offered these big contracts, but we can't do the big contracts until we scale. And right now we're in zero debt. So we're trying to be mindful of that and grow. What is y'all's input on either stay where we are, grow as we have the cash versus trying to find an investor versus taking out a loan? What are people's opinions? I'd love to hear other business owners' opinions on that.
And we always open it up to the community first, and then we always have our 2 cents. So is there anyone that wants to chime in? Deborah, you happen to be in the financing world, so will you want to be the first one to chime in?
No.
I love it. I love your honesty about that.
Things are crazy all over the place right now. People are scared all over the place, and it's a really volatile market. I don't care what market you're in right now. Everybody's scared. Everybody's, especially with, the war that's going on now. Nobody wants to make a move one way or direction. I kind of feel like everybody's just going and hasn't released that breath yet. So,
because where we are at in the company, no, I'm not planning on doing this, but let's say something else crazy happens and the world shuts down again. I could walk away and not owe a penny of anything. But it's that how do you know when to take that step out on faith to help grow your company? And yes, I overthink things, but I'm trying to get other people's opinions.
Richard.
Please, Richard.
Yeah, Bree, are you familiar with the work
see
of
Stephen.
Reid Hoffman at all? He does a series called Masters of Scale.
No,
And
what's his name?
Reid, R-E-I-D, Hoffman, H-O-F-F-M-A-N, Masters of Scale. And he actually has a podcast that you can listen to, but his whole focus is how to build a big business. And depending upon what market you're in, he has different kind of approaches to that.
Okay.
It's really interesting information and useful, actionable stuff. Another way of expressing it, his approach is kind of ready, fire, aim, and take the next step. But he's got a lot of insights there and a lot of connections as well. So I would heartily recommend him and the Masters of Scale podcast. And then he's also got a book out by the same name, Masters of Scale.
Thank you, Richard. Stephen, you have a comment? And then Dallas or Steve, or you want to comment?
Fortune favors the brave.
That's an awesome statement, by the way.
So it's like there's always ways there's more money made in uncertain times than there is when everything's static and flowing. Because when everything's static and flowing, everybody is doing the same thing to get the same dollar. You're fighting over the same dollar that the consumer gets to choose where they're going to be spending it. In uncertain times, if you can put together your business and enter into some debt and not being afraid of that and be able to provide, what people need, I would say go for it. I mean, and it's a big business decision, but my gosh. And I know April is going to come back and this is going to bite me in the behind later on today in our private meeting. But I saw you writing
Not
it down.
completely true.
Sorry to get you in trouble.
But I think now would probably, the opportunity has unveiled itself to you. And now is a very uncertain time. And there are others that will curl up in a corner and not make any change for fear of what might happen.
And we're a pandemic business. Our business was created out of a necessity in order for my family to survive. And it's grown and has been amazing. It's just taking that other leap right now is scaring me because I'm getting lots of negative feedback from other people about doing it.
So Bree, I think we've got so Dallas just took the time to type out some great notes in the chat. And Richard, you have a comment. I think Dallas wants to say something about that as well.
Yeah, Bree, I want to put on my legal hat for a moment here with respect to the growth and expanding your business. That's another reason why you should have an estate plan or a trust in place to protect what you do have. And if you can separate your business from your personal, to the extent that you can do that, that's good, because stuff happens and you don't really know what the future holds. I'm with Dallas, fortune favors the prepared and the brave and all that. But by the same token, you want to make sure that because you started this business to protect your family, that they continue to be protected regardless of what happens in this crazy business world.
Great input, Richard. Dallas, Stephen, and you will not get eaten out of that one, or chewed out on that one. And Deborah, we'll come back. The question is that started off with visibility, and Bree brought in the question, as you got to hear when she came in, about how do you make a decision on that? And I do have some thoughts on that. Dallas, is there anything else you want to comment on, or Steve?
Identity is huge. I mean, I do my branding everywhere I go. So I've always been cell phone guy. That's, hey, there's the cell phone guy. You can fix your stuff. So you got a crack in that screen. I know a guy. I become that guy, and then identity is massive. A lot of that is through branding, and I still, man, we're helping 8 to 12 people a day, and 2 out of 3 of them are still the first time that they've heard of the company. And I've been here 4 years. So there's still just massive opportunity, even out of the Halls location here. And just to think that we're grabbing another one here in a week, like I'm fired up. So whole new market, and get to wear the shirts everywhere. So it's fantastic.
Oh, you wear shirts everywhere.
Right.
Shirts, yep. These guys.
There you go.
Skirts
Yep.
could work too. I don't know about that, but
Steve, Mr. Rep, anything else you want to add? You're on mute. Thank you, Dallas.
No,
So
Advice.
say again,
good advice.
in regards to the financing side.
Yep.
Yep, all the above. So here's, Bree, you said something that I want to come back to, if you allow me a coaching moment. And thank you for permission. And we forewarned you, all are recording, so we do post this. But the aspect of when you said, we started the business in a pandemic, we started the business in the fact of, God forbid the world changes and we have to shut down tomorrow, we can walk away and still be debt free. Some of the most difficult question to that is, how invested are you into making sure no matter what happens, the business is going to move forward? And because technically you created the business in the pandemic, if the world shut down, you still keep do business. Right. So in all reality, I'm curious what story might need to happen for you to determine where you really want to create in your target. You want me to ask that differently?
Yes.
So yeah, so your anytime, and by the way, One Light Ahead has done both. We've done the concept of being completely debt free for years, and then we've gone into debt, and we knew that in order for the opportunity to expand to where we wanted to expand, we knew where we were targeted for, we knew what we were committed in, we knew what we had happening and what had to happen to get us to where we wanted to go. So there's 2 commitments there, right? So, and I 100% agree with anybody ever heard of Robert Kiyosaki?
Oh, yeah.
Robert Kiyosaki, say again?
Buy silver.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, yes. So, and he also has a book, or excuse me, a game called Cash Flow, and there's actually an app that goes with it. And you can actually build your own balance sheet in this game and play it on the app, and actually play with different investments and see what happens in those investments. And by the way, my kids are annoyed by it to this day, but they all played it. My high school students played it. I mean, and yes, I did teach high school, and yes, I did incorporate this game into it along with a couple others, so they could understand what a balance sheet looked like. What Richard's talking about is a lot of people haven't even been exposed to a balance sheet. They don't understand doing all the different numbers and understanding, is it a cost effectiveness? Is there going to be bottom line balance for it, and will it pay itself off? And how long will it take to pay itself off? So there's a couple different options there. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I know where my concern's coming from. It was a comment that my dad made, and it's just stuck in the back of my head. I can't get rid of, and so that's I know where it's coming from.
And so the way, when I said when we started our meeting, I said our job as a leader is to own that we have a leadership opportunity, right? And we get to be the leader, and then we get to assess evidence. So sometimes evidence proves our story, and sometimes somebody will tell us a story and we're looking to prove the story. So which story do you want to buy into, and which story do you want to prove? Does that make sense?
Yep. Okay. Thank
And-
y'all very much.
I love the question. It was a great question for everyone. And I'll share a tangent for a minute. When I first started in real estate, and I'll tell you, this was 2001, to give you a long time ago. My adopted dad, or excuse me, this is the other fun part of getting to know my history, my uncle dad. So my uncle that married my mom after my aunt died. That's a whole lot of fun. But anyways,
You heard that right.
Yes, you really did hear that, right?
Yeah.
He kept saying, I was raising 2 children, and he kept saying, you need to go get a regular job. You need to go get a regular job. And by 2 months later, I had my first escrow, and I kept saying, be patient with me, be patient with me. And for those of you that know escrows and real estate, by 2 months later, I had 7 in escrow, and people were calling me about a property. I'm like, who are you calling about? What are you calling about? You're not the only person I'm serving right now, right? Now, of course, I didn't answer that way. Yeah. My point being is that when you believe in yourself and you move into where you're headed, you get to prove that story. Does that make sense? And I ended up selling one of his houses and made him quite a happy camper as well. So you understand that you never know who you're serving, how you're serving, and how you get to fulfill the evidence you want to prove. That makes sense? Deborah, anything you want to add to the fun conversation today? Any questions? And how are you making yourself visible, Deborah?
I'm not even sure how to respond on that. I've been out physically in the field and just kind of networking the last couple of weeks. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to be on your podcast. But just trying to actually go out and generate face-to-face meetings again is kind of how I've been showing up recently. Which is difficult because people are still scared about meeting, and then on the other side, it's, you know, people are excited to meet. So I don't know. There's a lot going on.
Deborah, that's the truth. And here's the fun part about the Q&A and the opportunity. Stephen, I think you have a comment as well. The gift is that we record these, so as you're able to join us, obviously you get to be part of the questions and the conversation, but you also can listen as you're not available. We love the activity in the group and the community that you all can see for me, which is so much fun for us. And yet we also welcome, Deborah, the concept of that visibility is when we're present, when we're not present. So the fun part about networking is you are present in that moment, but what happens when you have that engagement in a network. So Bree is part of a BNI group that Haley gets to know. And so the fun thing, if Bree will give me permission, I loved what her commentary was. I know Haley and I trust Haley, so therefore I got to trust you because I know Haley. So that was a networking that happened that Haley does every week, and yet built her relationship with Bree to get Bree to have a conversation with me. And then Bree got here. Does that make sense? So I was present when I wasn't present through the relationship, through the connection. And then we got the opportunity to bring her into our community. That makes sense?
Yes.
So you're doing that process of building that community, that connection, and that lasting impression. So that's part of that. Networking is part of that process, and BNI is one of those examples. Or out in the field is what Deborah would, in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do, right? Is to start connecting and engaging with people. So great job. Stephen, did you want to add something to that before we, any other questions, any other thoughts for the community? Because this is your open forum and this is an opportunity. We always bring something into the group with the statements. And if there's no others, we'll give you an extra 10 minutes to your day, however you prefer. Haley, anything you want to wrap us up with?
I always love wrapping up, so sure. I think it's really cool. You know, in the presentation, and April, you just mentioned it, that idea of being present while not being present. I think that concept came up multiple times during the Q&A part, because that's really such a huge part of visibility, especially with what Bree does and what she was sharing about just branding yourself and wearing your brand, because you're making that imprint, you're like burning that imprint in everyone's mind, so that they make that association. They don't even have to think about it. It doesn't feel like a forced referral or anything. It's just you're a resource at that point, and you're helping that come to mind quicker for others. You know, the more you can brand yourself, I guess. That was the first thing. But then also, Bree, I just wanted to encourage you a little bit. Congratulations. That's like a really awesome question to even be asking yourself. And the reason that it's awesome is because you're asking yourself because there's a need there. You're not just asking because you want to recklessly take out a loan and, you know, like make this business. You have a need that you're trying to fill. And I think that that's a really important element of the decision that you're trying to make. You know, can I justify this need somewhere? Is there actually a need that I can fulfill? And it's fantastic that you do. So I just wanted to congratulate you on that, and thank everyone for being here, because it's a great group today.
As always.
Yeah, as always. Yeah.
As always. And your questions help encourage, and your statements help infuse each other, and you get to know where each other is and how you can help support and build your own presence and community. So thank you for allowing us to be present when we're not present, when we put this video up into the Facebook group. We will have another week next week. We do have a special guest in 2 weeks. So next week, we are actually talking about walls of resistance. I'm sure nobody in this group has walls of resistance, but anyways, no one has it. We will be discussing walls of resistance to prepare you for our special guest, Mr. Corey Larson, who is coming in to speak about automation and marketing and all that fun stuff. He's a wealth of information, and he has all kinds of opportunity to answer questions, but we'll also have a quick 5 to 10 minute conversation about how we got connected with him, how he's been helping us and setting up some clarity and tools for us. And we look forward to having you all with us. Any other questions or thoughts before we send you on? No? Oh.
Wait, can I say so? I just wanted to say thank you, April. After we had our conversation, I decided that it was time to look for a new space. So I called the lady back on the specific space I really wanted. And I was able, between negotiations and knowing that it's been empty for 2 years, knock off rent by $200. So I was able to get a 500 square foot space for $400. So
that's amazing.
Giving me that permission to do that for myself, it was helpful just because of all the other noises around. So thank you very much for that.
You're deeply welcome. And thank you for sharing. Thank you all. It's an opportunity to learn that we have leadership within ourselves, and we get to give ourselves permission. So I love that you share that with the community. Thank you. Have an amazing day, everyone. We will see you next week, and if not individually. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.